Hello everyone, this is Christy with MyScrapbookEvolution.com, and I'm here to share an art journal page, the first of many to come, from my Stencilfied journal project. So what exactly is the Stencilfied journal? Well, this is an artist collaboration. It's hosted by Tina Walker and Stencil Girl Stencils. Now, while it is hosted by them, I am not part of their creative team. I'm not making any money off of this. I'm just doing it for fun and because I like Stencil Girl stencils. I have quite a few in my stash. You're going to see me break those out over the coming weeks with many of the prompts that we'll be using. So let's go ahead and get started and find out what prompt 1 is all about. So for prompt 1, we're going to be stenciling the page and covering it completely with circles. So first of all, it's been a while since I recorded and I didn't realize my video recording camera was doing this autofocus thing, and I fixed it later on after I realized it was doing this. But let's get to the project. You're seeing my recycled journal. This is a catalog from a local art studio where I'd been taking classes, and this catalog lists all the classes that were available. And I decided to use this particular stencil as my main background, and right off the bat I made a mistake right there. I boxed off that stencil. Initially my goal was to cover the entire page with these open circles, and when I did that I kind of closed off the stencil, not really thinking about continuing the design forward. Now I do fix this later on by simply drawing lines throughout the whole page, and you can see that line where I boxed that stencil off through the top there. So again, it's not a difficult fix. Once I get everything completely filled in, I'll just fill all those spaces up with the lines. And if you need to, you can see I've used a little bit of masking tape here to hold down your stencil. That really helps you out quite a bit, especially if your book is moving around. And you can just take that piece of masking tape and put it down in the book somewhere else later and use it as part of covering in your journal, just some interesting texture. Let's see, just for reference, the stencil that I'm using for the main background is called Circular Patterns for Play. Later on, I am going to be filling in these circles, and I will be using the Bally Doily stencil and the Art Deco Flower Medallion Repeating Corner stencil. And here is where I am continuing to fill in those lines. I really didn't worry about them being neat and even. I could have used a ruler or some kind of straight edge if I had wanted to, but it wasn't really a big concern. I'm getting a little bit of an inspection from Little Bit here as we show you the full completed background. It adds a nice amount of layering into the design. And I wanted to pull those circles up a little bit further towards the top. So what I've done here is to use black gesso, and I just start painting in the design. I'm not really worried about it being perfect. Once again, it's just to try to give some sort of design to it, but at the same time I'm just allowing whatever happens to happen. So once everything is all filled in and dried, I've come back in. This is that Bally Doily stencil I mentioned. I'm not using the full stencil, and actually I didn't really like this first circle that I did, so I didn't repeat using the center of the pattern. But later on I'm using my white gel pen, and I'm just sort of alternating around in the design and adding little elements to it. I know that I'm going to be painting over the top of this, but I'm not really worried about that yet. I haven't at this point decided what I'm going to paint. My goal is to simply fill this in, and I do this a little pointedly now, but periodically throughout this I kind of put the project down and I stopped and I started, and I also worked on it a little bit while we were playing video games, while I was waiting on those load screens. So now I've kind of sketched out a basic shape. I've decided that I'm going to draw this girl who is reading a book. And I'm kind of blurring that white gel ink. So if you're thinking, why did she fill in most of the pattern and then just kind of mash it out like this? I did go ahead and scan this sheet before I started painting like this, and that way if something happens, if I'm not happy with it, I can always print out another version of this same page. And I just continue here to kind of just form a basic layer that I can draw on a little bit more detailed, and I want to be able to see better. So this gel layer and then a little bit of gesso will help me achieve that. And once I have down enough gesso, kind of almost in like a ghostly form, I'm able to do this sort of back and forth with my pencil, with a black gel pen, and with more white gesso, and just sort of figure out how I want to lay down color and get the design the way that I want it. I briefly tried watercolor and it just wasn't enough, so I used kind of a washed out gesso to fill the design in and add more detail. Overall, I'm happy with the final result. It gave me an opportunity to practice hands a little bit. I'm not 100% happy with the hands, but I do feel like I'm making a little more improvement. I really struggle with drawing hands, and art journaling for me is an opportunity for me to practice and try to improve myself while having a little bit of fun and playing. The end result is this ghostly kind of character with a little bit of that circle pattern peeking through the back. You can sort of see the texture through her while she's reading a book. So if you're wondering why the other side of the page isn't completely filled in yet, it's because I haven't finished putting the stencil design there, and that left side of the page is going to be something else. I've been practicing portraits lately, so there will probably be another portrait on the left-hand side of this art journal page. And of course, once again, this is part of the Stencilfied journal. Search hashtag the Stencilfied journal to see what everyone is up to. I'll have links to Tina's blog and to the Stencil Girl blog so you can find out more about the project. If you do make something for the prompt, please leave a link in the comments below for either the video or for the blog post. And make sure on your social media to hashtag the Stencilfied journal.